Welcome to today's episode of Surrounded by Love. Today is Tuesday, July the 7th, 2020. And I am Danielle, and we're going to go on our journey today. So, I know it's been a lot that's been going on. This past weekend was the 4th of July, or Independence Day. And I hope, however, you chose to celebrate it or not. But regardless, I pray that you had a really good weekend and a good time with friends or family, however you chose to celebrate. And today, I want to talk about, or just to keep in mind, also to bring up, as the numbers of COVID is rising in different parts of the country, to remind you all to keep in mind to be mindful where you go, what you do. Social distancing is still best. You have technology, you can utilize that, but be mindful of what you're doing, where you're going, because all those things can affect your loved ones. And for those of you who have school age children, I know that's a heavy decision to decide on, if you choose to send your kids out or if you want to do the homeschooling. But for those that choose to send their children out, what you do now will determine if that will even be a reality the way things are going now. So remember to wash your hands, wear a mask, because it's not a large thing to ask, because it's really protection for yourself. Just look at it like that. If you want to live long and accomplish everything that you have for yourself, or you have set out to accomplish, you have to be alive to do it. You can't do it from the grave. So, and you don't want to be the cause of someone else becoming ill or going to their grave before their time. So just keep that in mind. It's not just about you. We don't live on an island. We all live surrounded by people. So remember, do everything with love. Love for yourself and for others as well. So today, my topic I want to talk about is the other side. The other side of this. Next level. Promotion. What's new? Upcoming. What's on the horizon for you? The other side. What is on the other side of this? What have you envisioned for yourself? So when considering the other side, you have to remember a couple things. And these are just some ideas that I jotted down, that just to make you think. So when you're preparing for what's next, what's new, promotion, you have to remember and always keep this in mind as you move up in life, or as you begin to achieve your goals, things that you set out to do for yourself or for your family or your business. There will be people that will not celebrate you. They will not be happy for you, or if they show it as if they are. Not all the times, I'm not saying everybody, but not all the time, that showing of congratulations or that's awesome is genuine. So you always have to know your circle. Always keep in mind those that were there for you when it was tough, those that you can trust to give you advice, that have proven themselves to be in your corner. And you have to keep in mind that they may not be a large number of people, and you really, in all honesty, you don't need a large number of people. What you need is loyalty and truth. People that will be truth tellers, they will be loyal to you, and they will be there for you. So the environment of your friends or your circle is very vital to your success. Whether you want to accept it or not, you can't do it alone. You have to incorporate others into it. But just use discernment on who they may be. So when you're progressing in your life, you're progressing in your degree program, progressing in your career, or your business is progressing, don't be dismayed. Don't be discouraged when you start to see the character of some people. Don't be. Do not allow that to hurt you or cause you to shrink back. Don't be discouraged by that. You have to continue moving forward. You just brush it off your shoulders and you move on, because at the end of the day, they are projecting onto you those feelings of insecurity or um, not appreciating or not being grateful or thankful for anything. They're trying to push that negativity off on you. But you have worked through so much, you have come through so much to push forward. So you can't allow people and their beliefs or their perceptions to pull you back. You have to keep that in mind. The next thing that I have is you have to keep in mind that it won't be easy. It won't be. You have to know that you will encounter challenges. You will encounter probably many no's. And you hear different people, like I heard TD Jake say, you may receive 1,000 no's before you receive that one yes. And when you receive that one yes, the 1,000 no's, it really doesn't matter. Because if it's important to you, if it's a dream, if it's something that you want to accomplish, you have to continue on in spite of the obstacles, in spite of the contentions, the fighting that you may have to go through. And it's not so much always fighting with people, maybe institutions, belief systems, workplace politics, different things that are set up to work against you. But if you persevere, if you're strong, if you're courageous, and you have faith, you can endure it and you will be victorious, and you will accomplish all those things that you have set out for yourself. So when people try to smear your name, slander your name, say mean and ugly, vile things about you, and you know it's not your character, and you know in your heart that that's not you, and you didn't even participate or do or say the things that they're going around saying, count it all joy, because apparently you're doing something right. When people talk about you and they try to pull you down or dismantle your name or your character, you're doing something right. It's just aggravating and it's an agitation to them. But you must keep going. Don't be surprised by it. Don't be distracted by it, because a lot of times when we are on pursuit of what's for us or what's next, things arise to distract you, to get you to turn. Instead of going straight, it's either for you to turn left or right off of the path that you have put yourself on, and that's not what we want to do. So when it arises, don't even give it life. And when I say don't give life to it, mean don't speak about it, don't keep harping on it, because the more you give attention to it, you're the one that's causing it to have life, or it's like you're the one that's bringing validity to it, like it's true. So if you just let it go, it will die off, because if you're honest with yourself and you know you're being true to yourself, the truth will always outlive a lie. It will. So you have to keep in mind and keep yourself focused on what you pay attention to. Considering all that has happened this year, and it's not over, some people want it to be over because they have given up. But you don't have to sign on to that bandwagon. You don't have to join the crowd, because it's not over. Every day you wake up and you breathe, you have the use and activity of your limbs, and you are in your sound mind. It is an opportunity to accomplish and to do whatever it is you have set out to do. You just have to completely, sometimes push yourself. Sometimes it has to be minute by minute. Sometimes it's by the hour, but you must continue on. You have to push yourself. No, you may not have cheerleaders along the way. Sometimes you have to be your own biggest cheerleader. Sometimes you will have to encourage yourself. And that's a reality. And the biggest battle or the biggest contention you will face to get to the other side is your thoughts, your mind, what you think. Because for many of us, the things that we want to attain or we wish to achieve, we may not have examples of that in our surroundings. You may be the first in your family. Doesn't even matter your nationality. You may be the first one to think about this or to believe in it or see the possibilities or the success for it. You may not have company on that journey. And a lot of times, what you are fighting is your inner critic. Those thoughts that you think about yourself. Well, the last time I tried, it didn't work out. So, what's the point of investing my time and my money in this again? Well, Susie started it, she tried it, and it didn't work out for her. So, if it didn't work out for her, surely it won't work out for me. Well, I had this conversation with Adam, and he gave me all of this information on why it wouldn't work. He even brought somebody to discuss the situation with me, and they talked about their experience, and they didn't have a good experience, so surely it won't work for me. So it's the thoughts that you think to yourself. No, you may not speak it out loud, but this is the tape that's playing in your mind, but you give attention to it. And if you give attention to it, you cause it to grow louder and louder. And sooner rather than later, you will stop yourself because you have fallen into that trap. So you have to be aware of your thoughts, of what you're thinking. If it's any type of vain imaginations, anything that's negative, you do not have to allow it to land. Just because the bird is flying over your head, you don't have to allow it to land on the top of your head. You don't have to allow that, because if you give attention to it, you're going to cause that to be a reality, because you're going to start falling in line with the negativity as you're thinking it, because those are the pathways or the neural pathways that's already been laid in your mind. So what you intend to do is go against the own grain or the own path that you have created in your mindset, in your thought patterns. So that's why you have to be mindful of what's going on in your mind, because that's where the biggest battle is going to be, in your mind, how you see yourself, silencing that inner critic, pulling down those negative thoughts. And one way to do that, be in your word, read your Bible, listen to pastors or teachers, evangelists, apostles, prophets that are preaching the word in truth. And the truth, you can correlate that with the scriptures. Be around people who will encourage you. Be around people that it's a safe place for you to express your feelings. And you know they'll be honest with you, and you have to be honest with yourself, because sometimes you will have to do things that you are afraid of doing. But you persevere and you push yourself in spite of what you see. Now that's faith. In spite of what it looks like on the inside of you, in your gut, you know this is something that you have the ability to do. And for reference, you can go to Numbers chapter 13, verse 33. Now, just a little backdrop. This is a story concerning the children of Israel after they have came out of bondage of being enslaved in Egypt for over 400, I believe, in 30 years. So they have come out, they have gone through the Red Sea. So now they're at the point where they're right there, the land that God had promised their forefather Abraham. They're right there. So Moses sent out, he got a member from each tribe. So it's 12 tribes of Israel. So he sent a member out from each tribe to go over into that land to survey it, to see how good it was, what they have to expect, what they needed to do. So they sent them out to survey it, like we have surveyors today that survey property, or they survey for road projects to see how they will bring improvements, like what issues or bottlenecks they may encounter so they can plan. So once the projects begin, they will have an idea of, some of the obstacles or the conditions they may encounter. So they sent out the 12 spies. They were gone for probably a month's time, and they came back with a report. So out of the 12, it was 10. So the majority, sometimes it's not good to be in a majority. The majority of them, 10 out of 12, came back and they said that they didn't have what it takes. The whole nation of them, they didn't have what it took to pursue that land, to go into it, to deal with the giants, the obstacles that they saw. They saw, and I'll read it to you, and it's the New Living Translation. I'm going to just read you that verse. They said, we even saw giants there, the descendants of Anak. Next to them, we felt like grasshoppers, and that's what they thought too. But at first, they said, we felt like grasshoppers, so they saw themselves as small. So all of those things that I told you before that they came through, that God miraculously done for them time and time again. They had manna in the wilderness. He caused water to come from a rock. Like time and time again, he proved his power. He proved his ability to fulfill everything he promised them. He proved they were in the desert, and he caused a cloud by day to lead them so they weren't scorched by the sun. So it's like almost like having air conditioning in the desert. And at night, he had a pillar of fire to warm them. He proved himself continuously to them, but you know what? They kept whining. They kept complaining, because even though physically their location had changed from Egypt and they were going into the promised land, their mentality did not. Their mentality is what kept them out. And because of that statement right there, only 2. So I told you with the 10. So the 2, it was Joshua and Caleb that came back and said, oh no, we are well able. We can overtake it. We are able to do it. And they were stated to have an excellent spirit. But the 10 of them, a curse fell upon them, and I believe they died. You can read the story for yourself. So that would be Numbers 14. That will tell you what took place. But from what they said, they caused the whole nation, like they started crying, falling out, like, oh my God, you got us out here, and now what we gonna do? We can't fight giants and all of this stuff, all this belly aching and complaining. So you know what happened? That's how they end up wandering for 40 years. This one incident. This is the incident. If you ever wanted to know, like, why 40 years? Because I know you've heard people, and if you haven't, if you were to go and research, that was a journey that probably should have maybe taken only 40 days. That was it. Like, it was a short journey. It wasn't long. This incident is what caused that to be 40 years. That incident is what caused them to wander. That means they had to keep going in a cycle. Every day, they got a year for every day. That's how they wandered for 40 years, because of their mentality. So it goes to show you, it proves complaining is not good. It's not. Because what you say, you're showing what's really in your mind and in your heart. That inner critic, you have to silence that. You have to create, even if you don't have it, but you can create it, because you have to start somewhere. You have to create an environment, of positivity. And you do not allow anyone to take that away from you. And you have to understand, out of 12, so 10 out of 12, so that was the majority, only 2 came back with a good report. And you know what? Just so you know, those 2, they outlive. So because of what the 10 said, they caused a whole generation to die. So what happened was, I think it was like 18 years and below, they lived because they were children. They really didn't know. They didn't really have a voice. So all of the adults, they died. As they wandered those 40 years, they kept wandering to that generation died off. So they never was able to partake of the goodness of the promise because of the complaining and because of their mentality. They were out of the location, away from their taskmasters. They were out of slavery, but they still had that slavery mentality. It was in their mind. It was in their heart. So in order for you to get to the other side, it's just some simple things you have to do. Yes, it's going to take some work, but if you feel that you worked it and you feel that you are able and you have the strength and you have the courage to go for it, do it. Don't complain about it, and don't surround yourself with negative minded people. And you see they're not going anywhere and they're going around in a cycle. Why join them? But that's a question you have to ask yourself. So thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the shares. I really appreciate it. Remember to like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Surrounded by Love. You can also follow me on social media, Twitter and Instagram at D as in Danielle, Liz, Liz as in zebra, Caesar, Ceaser. If you have any questions, any suggestions, you can email them to me at surroundedbylove20@gmail.com. Again, that's surroundedbylove20@gmail.com. Thank you so much for your time and have an awesome day.